Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Sea of Tranquility's Rant series. I'm your host, Pete Pardo, publisher and CEO of SOT. Today is Sunday, August the 26th. Summer's quickly disappearing. Fall's right around the corner, and we've got another rant for you here today. So today's rant is actually inspired by some feedback from one of our new viewers. It was actually a great idea, and the more I thought about it over the last couple of days, the more I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this one. Kind of a little twist away from our regularly scheduled programming. So if you've come here to expect a rant on something metal, something hard rock, something progressive rock, this one might not be for you, but it's going to be a fun one nonetheless. And again, it centers around stuff that I like, although with like I said, a little different twist. So today's rant is all about guilty pleasure songs. We all have them, right? We all have songs that we maybe secretly or not so secretly like that most people who know us well wouldn't expect that we'd like. So for someone like me, most people I talk to who know me, they know I'm a big heavy metal fan, big hard rock fan, big progressive rock fan. I love jazz, all that kind of stuff. So kind of these obscure and sometimes terrible pop tunes most people wouldn't associate with me, and a lot of times I may not talk about how I like these certain songs, but I have a lot of these. Actually, quite too many. I tried to keep this list right around 30, so I'm going to go through them, but this list could have been enormous because I have a soft spot for a lot of really silly pop songs and things like that from throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even more recently. So I figured I'd share them with you. I also want to let you know that I actually own maybe 20, maybe more. I don't know exactly how many of those Time Life 70s and 80s AM and FM hit collections. So my wife and I are big into that stuff. So anyway, let's go through some of this stuff. I'll have little stories and anecdotes to go along with some of them, but hopefully you dig this. So anyway, first one I have on my list. Big Kiss fan when I was a kid, all throughout my life. But this one tune, if you talk to most like diehard Kiss fans, they hate. For some reason, I kind of like it, which is actually strange because it was actually the last Kiss album I bought at the end of the 70s before I got like really turned on to other stuff and moved in heavier directions like Sabbath and Purple and Zeppelin and eventually Scorpions and Priest and all that kind of stuff. But it was the hit single off the Dynasty album, which most Kiss fans don't like the album and don't like the single. Of course, I'm talking about I Was Made for Loving You, which kind of Kiss's a little stab at disco. I never minded it. I still like it. I still can listen to it to this day, and quite frankly, it's one of the few Kiss tunes my wife actually likes. So that counts for something. But I kind of dig it. It was kind of hip and kind of fun at the time, but also at the time, probably a bad mistake for Kiss, but it made them some money. It was a pretty big hit for them. So whatever, I still dig it. It's still pretty cool. So that's my first one here. Second one, again, I might get a little shit for this, but I don't really care because I've always kind of liked this band. ABBA had a lot of hits. I always had a soft spot for Take a Chance on Me. Whenever I hear it, I get all kind of giddy. It's got that cool kind of a cappella chorus, and I don't know, just a great fun pop tune, and one of those many ABBA tunes that I still listen to today brings a smile to my face. Okay, another one. This kind of comes from the same time period as the Kiss tune. A tune I was really into, as well as half the universe seemed to be into at the time, but then everybody was just like garbage shortly thereafter. But whenever I hear My Sharona by the Knack today, I still get into that. Okay, kind of cool, kind of power pop type of thing. Silly, yes, but a great guitar riff. Interesting, weird vocal and chorus. Kind of fun. Another one. Harry Nilsson's Put the Lime in the Coconut. Probably silliest song of all time that I know so many of you out there also really dig as well, right? What's not to like about this silly pop tune? Harry Nilsson was notorious for doing all sorts of different type of stuff, from like ballads to more soulful things to kind of folky stuff, silly pop, a little more rock and roll. He was all over the place. Fun song. All right, probably my favorite song of all time. And I wasn't even going to include this here because I wouldn't say it's a guilty pleasure because the song is so damn good. In my opinion, it's probably the best pop tune ever written. You can kind of call it a one-hit wonder. There's a reason why I love this song so much. So when I was a young kid, we moved, my family and my brother and I moved from Brooklyn, New York to Goshen, New York. And my father worked in New York City every day, commuted into the city every day. So we really didn't see him much during the week. But on the weekends, he would spend a lot of time with us, and usually on Saturday and Sunday mornings, he would pack my brother and I in the car, and we go drive into town, about 5-10 minute drive, to go to the newsstand to get the newspapers. And my brother and I would buy comic books, right? But he had an old Plymouth Fury that had a great AM radio in the car. And he would always play, and I forget the station at the time, probably one of the local stations, that played all the AM pop hits of the day. And the one song that I remember loving to hear, and I believe it came out in the summer of that, whatever year that came out, 72, 73, maybe something like that. It was Brandy by the Looking Glass. And I will always, to this day, think of trips to the newsstand with Dad hearing Brandy on the radio. And I just love the song to death. It's probably, like I said, one of the most well-constructed pop tunes of all time. A silly song, kind of, yes, but a great tune with a great hook, great vocal harmonies, just like that. Probably the perfect pop song. Probably my number one guilty pleasure of all time. I dig it. Love it, love it. All right, Barry Manilow. Yes, Pete Pardo enjoys Barry Manilow. How can I not? Because when I was growing up, my mother was a huge fan. She played Barry Manilow records all the time. And there's a slew of his hits that I love. Probably the one I like the most, though, and still when I hear it to this day, it brings back good memories, is Mandy. I mean, you could say I write the songs, looks like we made it, whatever, but Mandy always kind of really got me. Still enjoy it to this day. Total guilty pleasure. Barry, you're okay in my book. What else? Silly Love Songs by Paul McCartney and Wings. If you've been following me over years on this YouTube channel or on the website, you know I'm a big Paul McCartney and Wings fan. Silly Love Songs is exactly what it is. It's a silly love song, but it's a great tune. Another one of those almost perfect pop hits. McCartney just wrote so many of them and had a damn good bass line in it too. Great song. Baby Come Back by Player. Actually, that's probably their only real big hit, but if you go back and listen to those Player albums, they're pretty damn good. If you like Ambrosia and Toto and that sort of thing, a lot of those Player albums are pretty rockin', have some really cool stuff on them. But that was a huge hit. I still like it, still love it to this day. All right, so this song, I'm going to do a show in the very near future called Hit Songs You Never Need to Hear Again, right? For a lot of people, this is probably on it, but I don't know what it is. I still, every time I hear it, I get into it. Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. Probably one of the most overplayed songs of all time. But I love it. Still. It was like, actually, that song was probably like the theme song of my wedding 10 years ago. It was played during the reception, and it was the last song we played that night at the after party. And everybody was just up and dancing and just having a grand old time. And it's like, and I've seen Journey live so many times, I just still get into it. It's one of those tunes, whenever you happen to be listening, and who listens to radio much anymore, but on the rare occasion where you do, whether it's satellite or regular FM radio, and that comes on, I still get into it. Still listen to it. It's okay. Speaking of Ambrosia, How Much I Feel. Another great pop tune, soulful pop tune. This is a band that went from very progressive beginnings. Those first two albums are complete prog albums, and then started to become somewhat of a hit machine, right? Kind of soulful R&B, pop, and rock. How Much I Feel. Great tune. Memorable tune. Haunting chorus. Love it. Atlanta Rhythm Section, So Into You. Southern rock band who also started pumping out some hits that were kind of not Southern rock-ish, right? If you're expecting like Lynyrd Skynyrd and the Outlaws and Molly Hatchet and all that kind of stuff, you really didn't get that with ARS. Definitely more of a soulful pop band, although they had some definite Southern rock style moments, right? Great tune. Here's a complete silly one. So this was a tune when I was a kid. I loved, just loved. When I was a young kid, I'm still into this day, but when I was a kid, big Marvel comic fan. One of my favorite characters was Howard the Duck. So this guy named Rick Dees came up with this song called Disco Duck. Probably the silliest fucking song of all time. But it was fun. I listen to it today. I still laugh at it. And still am like, that's still pretty cool. Now that, I'm in my 50s and that was like, 40 some odd years ago. Silly, terrible song. But gotta love it. Devil Woman by Cliff Richard. That's a pretty serious song. Definitely, in my opinion, one of the best songs he ever did. Pretty cool rockin' tune. I dig it. But, again, Is what it is, right? Fooled Around and Fell in Love. Elvin Bishop. Blues guy, blues guitar player extraordinaire, does a simple, quirky, catchy pop tune. I dig it though. I like it. It's always enjoy listening to it, still to this day. All right, everybody's got to have a Fleetwood Mac song on their guilty pleasures list, right? And there's really nothing wrong with liking Fleetwood Mac, not at all. And in fact, I almost did not include this tune on here because everybody kind of likes Fleetwood Mac, right? But I have an obsession with this song. Okay. Go Your Own Way. I've even sung this at karaoke numerous times in my life. Not in very recent years, but I have. And it's a great tune. Gotta love all the different vocal harmonies on there, and that killer guitar solo. Again, one of those tunes you've heard a million times, but for me, I still enjoy listening to it. It's definitely a guilty pleasure. Always yeah, that's that song. Totally love it. All right, here's definite one for this show. Andy Gibb's Thicker Than Water. I know he likes Andy Gibb. I don't mind Andy Gibb. I don't mind Andy Gibb or his brothers at all. Never did. Back in the disco days, man, that was the shit. That was if you were into disco music, man, if you didn't like the Bee Gees or Andy Gibb, something was wrong with you. And, my cousins were all into Andy Gibb, and my mom liked the Bee Gees, and I was again, I was a Kiss fan at the time, but I was I kind of dig this stuff. And as I've gotten older, I really appreciate it more and more. These are just great tunes. Great tunes. Speaking of the Bee Gees, Tragedy. What a great song. We could include anything from the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack on here as well, but I always loved Tragedy. It's an exciting song. Those high-pitched vocals. Yeah, it's awesome. The Raspberries. Go Your Own Way. Another example of a just great power pop tune. Doesn't get much better than that. It really does not get much better than that. From the guitar riff to the melodies, the harmonies, a perfect song. So here's one. So most people love Sweet. I'm talking about the band Sweet, not sweets and chocolates and all that kind of shit. And they had a lot of great rock tunes. Sweet became a very potent hard rock band through the mid to late 70s. Really, really good band. A lot of great tunes. But early in their career, they were pretty much like a bubblegum band. And not a great one, I might add. But they had that one tune that everybody kind of secretly has fun with called Little Willie. Little Willie Won't, right? Go Home. It's an awful song. But it's a great song at the same time. It's so bad that it's great. It's so awful that it's fun. Sue me. I don't know. I dig it. Always have. Coming at Your Love by Redbone. Another great kind of poppy, soulful rock tune. Really good. It's been remade over and over again, but I still dig the originals. I actually was just watching the original video of that, and I think that was performed on one of the, Dick Clark shows. I don't remember where it was performed on television, but it was the guys playing. And they're an interesting band, half American Indian, half Mexican. Just great. Actually, if you listen to some of their catalog, they actually had some really good tunes. Of course, that's the only real one that they're known for, but a great song nonetheless. Miracles by Jefferson Starship. From very early in their career. A just gorgeous song with a stunning hook. I still get goosebumps listening to this. This is another one of those tunes that was very popular on those Saturday and Sunday morning drives to get the newspapers with Dad that I always remember hearing on the radio. And I listened to it today and I'm like, oh, just a Marty Ballin. What a great lead vocal on that. Awesome. Tom Jones, She's a Lady. I mean, come on. If that isn't one of the best examples of a guilty pleasure. Who the hell cares about Tom Jones? But that's a great song. It's such a great song. Always thought so. Cher, Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves. Could pick any number of Cher tunes. I always like Cher. Okay? Not that I would go rush out to go see her in a concert or anything like that, or I haven't bought a lot of her albums, but I've got multiple hit collections of hers and 70s collections, 80s collections where her songs are on there, and they're all good. Yeah, can't beat it. 10cc, I'm Not in Love. Again, just universally renowned as a great song, so not necessarily a guilty pleasure. But 10cc had so many great songs and albums, and this, of course, was their biggest hit. But it's such a well-crafted pop song. An amazingly crafted pop song. How about this one? Vicki Lawrence, The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. Here you have this amazing comedic talent, star of the Carol Burnett Show, and her one and only song. Did she do a whole album? I don't even remember. But this is the only song that was ever released as a single. Sold tons of copies, and I remember being a little kid just loving it to death. I still listen to it to this day and really enjoy the hell out of it. It's just a great song. Couldn't Get It Right by the Climax Blues Band. Another great tune, a song that totally did not represent what they were all about, which was a bluesy, originally a Chicago-style blues band, and then eventually morphed into more of a rock and R&B and pop and bits of blues type of band. And this was their biggest hit, and a great song, with some really cool guitar licks and just awesome vocals. Amazing. All right, some more recent stuff. I have somewhat of a soft spot for Lady Gaga. I do. Regardless of what you may think of her as a personality, as a character, and all that kind of stuff, she has had some amazingly memorable songs. I had like 4 or 5 that I wrote down here, and then it's like I only want to do one from each artist here, so I narrowed it down to one. I really love Born This Way. That is, man, is that catchy. That is like get you up on your feet and start moving around. Ooh, there ain't no other way, baby. I was born this way. I can't sing, so, But anyway, a great tune. I really enjoy Lady Gaga. Really do. Regardless, again, what I think of her as a character, personality, whatever. She's written some really great songs. Prince, Let's Go Crazy. I put Prince on here because I actually secretly am a fairly big Prince fan. And I was going to do Purple Rain, which I really love. There's a lot of tunes I like from Prince, but man, one of my guiltiest Prince pleasures is Let's Go Crazy. Something about that tune, man, when that kicks in, that ripping guitar, just that funky groove and the riffs. Great stuff. All right, something else fairly recent. So I dig the Zac Brown Band. There's some modern country acts that I kind of like. Probably him and his band sits at the top. I really dig them. I think they bring a very cool kind of like Southern rock mentality mixed with traditional country and pop and rock. They do a little bit of everything. They're great musicians too. I love the tune Toes. It's like the perfect vacation song, or when you're in that mode where you just want to kind of kick back, okay? Ass on the chair, toes in the sand, right? Life is good today. Adios and vaya con Dios. Drink your cold one and all that kind of stuff. It's just a fun tune for a very, for relaxing, simple times. I really dig it. What else we got here? All right. I had to put this on here because most people that I know seem to abhor this song, but I've always liked it. I still can hear it and I enjoy it. The Final Countdown by Europe. Come on. It's not that bad. Yeah, I know we've heard it 1,000 times. Most people have, and I have too, but and again, it doesn't represent what Europe is all about. That's probably the sad thing about it. It's like most people think, oh, Europe, that horrible Final Countdown song. No! Most of Europe's material, other than a couple of hits on that album, this one included, Carrie's another one, not representative of what this band was all about, ever. If you listen to the stuff that Europe's been doing for the last decade, man, heavy, hard rockin' stuff, dark, great music. Even their early stuff before the Final Countdown album. Great, killer, melodic, hard rock and metal with ripping guitar work and great vocals and tasty keyboards. Kind of like a Deep Purple offshoot. Don't discount Europe, please. If you get anything out of this video, don't discount Europe just because of the Final Countdown. But it's not a bad song. It's actually a great tune. And people are going to remember the Final Countdown 20, 30, 40 years from now. Okay? That's the thing. As many people who seem to say these days how much they hate it, there's millions of people who love it and are going to continue to love it for decades and decades and decades from now. Grand Funk Railroad's version of The Locomotion. I love Grand Funk Railroad. And that, for me, is probably the best version of that tune. It's just fun. There's no other way to describe The Locomotion by Grand Funk. It's fun. Mark Farner, just a great vocal performance, drops in a killer guitar solo, And it's just a great, great tune. My wife loves that tune. She loved the original version of the song. And then whenever I play Grand Funk Railroad around the house, I try to make sure I throw that in because she gets into that. So I dig it. All right, here's one from the 80s. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who are guilty of liking this guy and maybe this song. Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. I mean, come on. This guy was all over the radio and MTV for, like 3 years. This guy could not go wrong. And you look at it, I was just watching his video earlier today. And, I mean, here he is, this, like, little shrimpy, redheaded white guy with this soulful voice. I mean, you couldn't have a worse kind of comparison between the voice and what he looked like, right? It didn't match at all. But, man, the guy could sing. He just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. But he had a bunch of really, really big hits. Really big hits. I hear Rick Astley these days. I'm like, yeah, I dig it. The last one I got for you today, now we're hit the 20-minute mark. I kind of scribbled this in at the last second right as I was sitting down to start recording here today. This is a band I really don't care for too much at all, but I can appreciate what they've done. I think the singer's got a really gritty voice. He's a pretty good guitar player too. I have an issue with a lot of these type of bands, talking about kind of the glam and hair bands of the 80s. Although these guys were more of a bluesy rock band. But anyway, not a big fan, but I always really like this song a lot. It's Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone by Cinderella. That's like a great example of an 80s power ballad that really, really works, in my opinion. I don't mind saying I like it. Not much of a fan of Cinderella in general, but, I mean, it's interesting because I am not a Poison or Motley Crue fan at all. And I'd be hard pressed to give you any songs from either band that I actually like and can listen to this day. You know, when Motley Crue first came out, I really liked the Too Fast for Love album, and of course, Jesus, their big album, Shout at the Devil. God, shows you how long I've listened to it. When those first came out, I really was into them. All right. But then shortly after, with the couple albums that came after that, I fell off the Motley Crue train, never to get back again. So I really can't even tell you I like any of those songs. Poison I never liked. I'm never a fan of Cinderella either, but a couple of their tunes, especially this one, I can pretty much get into. So that's it. That's some of my guilty pleasures. There's a ton more that I could have named, but we don't want to sit here for an hour and bore you to death with stuff that is off the beaten path for me that most people would probably be kind of shocked that I actually like. But I think if most of you were to take stock and sit back and think about it, there's probably a lot of tunes that you like from throughout your life that you've enjoyed and still enjoy that maybe don't necessarily fit in very neatly to most of the musical genres that you listen to. So for me, as you heard, most of this stuff here is a far cry from the various forms of metal and hard rock, classic rock, and jazz fusion, and certainly progressive rock. But I like them because I've had a lot of experience in my life either listening to AM radio with the family or, watching MTV. Obviously in the 80s, I was in my 20s and what have you during the 80s and, the late teens and the 20s. So I was exposed to all that early MTV generation with all these terrible songs put to, video, but a lot of them, as terrible as they were and are, some of them you start to grow fond for, right? And it's the way it is. So anyway, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on the mighty YouTube. Got all sorts of fun stuff coming up, guys. A lot of fun stuff. And I want to once again say thank you to everybody. The last month on this channel has seen tremendous growth. Tremendous growth. We have since passed 2,000 subscribers. We're now well over 200,000 views, and I'm just amazed at all the feedback and the comments that are coming in. A lot of really positive stuff. And for those of you negative Nancys and nitpickers, go ahead. You'd be surprised. I'm not the kind of host that does not read my comments, and I do respond to stuff. So if you're going to be really nitpicky about stuff with me or worse, here's another thing. To some of you who sit and put comments in on stuff saying, well, why didn't you mention this, or why don't you talk about this? And then when in fact I actually do in the videos, watch the full videos first before you start putting comments in. Because a lot of times I cover exactly what you're asking me and then calling me out for not doing. So do that, okay? and enjoy the videos first. You can do your comments in later. If you watch the whole video, paid attention, then you got a comment on something, you have an opinion on something, maybe that I forgot, then put it in. But watch the video first. It'll save us all a lot of time, and this way you get to enjoy the stuff that I've got on here. So anyway, like I said, take care. Thanks again for all the views, all the subscriptions. We got a lot more stuff coming. So if you really like the things that I'm covering here, I'm going to continue to do more as much as I possibly can. I got some artist retrospectives I got to do. I know we're running late on the Priest one. We've just had some scheduling problems. I'm going to do a Gillen show real soon. I'm working on probably over the next week or two. I'm going to do that. My top jazz fusion albums of the 70s. That is going to be mammoth. I am so looking forward to doing that. So for all you Return to Forever, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Miles Davis, Tony Williams, Lifetime, Weather Report, Brand X, yada, 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 all you fans out there who like that kind of stuff, you're going to love this show. I'm going to go in depth. It's going to be a lengthy one because I want to cover a lot of shit. So anyway, until next time, take care. Remember, www.seatranquility.org. Have a good one.